Raging Review.
The Raging Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Raging Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's your team ready? Who's your team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies, gentlemen, children, babies, Cajun Nation, hello once again, and welcome to another edition of the Raging Review podcast. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. Cajuns drop a very heartbreaking loss at homecoming last week to the Georgia State Panthers by the score of 20-17. The Cajuns will try to redeem themselves this weekend as they head over to Mobile to take on the South Alabama Jaguars, the first of the last 5 games, all of which Sun Belt Western Division Conference opponents. And we'll also talk a little bit of basketball. We had some Swamp Slam last night on campus. We'll talk some Cajuns volleyball, Cajun soccer, what's going on around the Sun Belt Conference, as well as a little bit of Cajuns golf. So a lot to discuss tonight. Again, I'm Jerry. I'm here with Nick. Nick, good evening, sir. How are you?
I was going to make the joke about the golf team getting laid in Hawaii, but I think I just made that joke, actually. That was the joke. I'm doing well, man. Thank you. I couldn't resist. That joke for the win.
Cute. Well, anyway, before we get started, we have to thank our sponsors. They're the ones that pay the bills. Well, let's get it started. All right, starting with sponsor number 1, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, office locations in Lafayette, Alexandria, Lake Charles, Monroe, Shreveport, Zachary, Denham Springs, Gonzales, Hammond, and home office in Baton Rouge. Go by and see the Chief Happiness Officer, Penny. You'll be glad you did. Get the G guarantee. Gordon will win your case or you do not owe a dime. That's right. No cost, no expenses, no fees, nothing. They've done thousands in NIL deals. They've assisted athletes with everything from promoting their personal brands to networking within the business world. Call toll free at 888-532-1573. That's 888-532-1573. Or go to www.getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done. Anyway, Lafayette Roofing and General Contractors, licensed and insured, locally owned and family operated. Go see Mr. Darren Domang, proud UL alum and RCAF supporter, also a good friend of ours and a huge fan of the pod. Lafayette Roofing is certified with the Better Business Bureau, where Mr. Domang himself serves as a board director. Just a reminder, if you haven't inspected your roof for damage with the wild weather we have had the last couple of years, make sure to check for sagging, signs of water damage, dark spots, holes, cracked or torn shingles, large amounts of shingle granules inside the gutters, presence of rot, mold, or moisture. You have 3 different options for financing available, and they also offer exceptional interior, exterior painting and sheetrock services. There's been over 10,000 satisfied customers, so I guess they can't be wrong. Give Darren and the crew a call today at 337-237-ROOF. That's 337-237-7663. Again, 337-237-7663, or visit Lafayette-roofing.com. That's www.lafayette-roofing.com. And last but not least, Patriot Steel Group. The guys over at Patriot Steel Group would like to thank all RCAF donors and encourage everyone to consider giving any amount they can to support our student athletes and their mission to promote our great university. Led by friend of the pod, Mr. Chris Russo, this is his new venture, and it was founded in 2021. The founders of Patriot have over 100 years of experience collectively in the oil and gas industry, and Patriot Steel Group offers domestic ERW, or what is called electric resistance welded and seamless tubulars. We can provide you with quality steel anywhere in the United States, from premium alloys to carbon grade. Contact Brandon Gallect or Reed Barbier at 337-443-9296. That's 337-443-9296. Or visit the Patriot Steel Group LinkedIn page. So once again, that's Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, Lafayette Roofing and General Contractors, and Patriot Steel Group. Thank you guys so much for your support of the Raging Review podcast. Okay, let's get it started, Nick. Unfortunately, we got to talk about what happened Saturday night. We're going to do a quick review. We'll close the curtain on that before heading over to South Alabama. Before we get started, I do want to apologize for us not being able to do a post game the other night. We did the Twitter space due to some technical difficulties, which is fine. We'd like to thank everybody for joining in, including you, Nick, as well as Josh, on your comments and what you saw in this game on Saturday night. We were able to get quite a few listeners in through the Twitter space. Hopefully next time around, we won't have to worry about that. And we're going to get that fixed in the background. But anyways, oh man, what a heartbreaking loss. It was almost a tale of two halves. In my opinion, I thought in the first half, I thought Cajuns got dominated both offensively and defensively. I thought the defense played okay. I just felt that they were kind of worn out because the offense couldn't sustain a drive. I think they got tired a little bit too much, and Georgia State was able to capitalize. When you're down 20-0, it becomes a game of catch up. And that's what happened in the first half. Luckily, the Cajuns forced a key turnover before halftime, and they were able to get on the board before halftime to get some momentum back. And they scored 10 points in the third quarter, 20-17. And in the fourth quarter, it was a war. And unfortunately, on that last drive, the Cajun offense moving down the field, and at the 7-yard line, Zion Chris, his pass was intercepted on 3rd and 5, to where Georgia State was able to kneel down twice and basically run the clock out to a 20-17 victory over Louisiana in front of a crowd of 20,044 fans. I don't know about you, Nick, but it was probably one of the most gut-wrenching losses just by the circumstances, because you play horribly in the first half. I mean, I'm just going to say it. It was a horrible performance in the first half. I thought we were out-coached. I thought we were out-maneuvered. I thought we were out-schemed. And then you make a few adjustments in the second half, and you outplay them. Just not enough to get over that hump on that last play. And I said it the other night, and I'll say it again. If anybody wants to put that on Zion Chris, you're placing blame at the wrong person. To me, I felt like Zion Chris, without his ability, we're not in that game. We don't have that opportunity to be able to close it out at the end. So, I know Zion as a freshman, he's still learning the ropes, but I also think he's gonna, this is a moment for him where I think he can see how he handles adversity going into this weekend. And I know as a young leader that he is on the field, that he'll do just fine. But, it's just another game. You got to play two halves of football.
Yeah, and what was disappointing, Jerry, is that Josh mentioned it on the podcast before. He was like, are you happy coming off of a bye week and playing Georgia State? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? And I think generally we thought it was a good thing, but you looked so unprepared in that first half. You started thinking, what the hell were we doing for 2 weeks? Like, we were flat. We didn't come out with a whole lot of emotion. Our play calling was atrocious. Our execution was atrocious. Defense somewhat kept us in the game in the first half. They made it a game, definitely in the second half. So it was just overall a disappointing start to the game. And you're mentioning the last play. I've not seen one person on social media as a Cajuns fan say that's on Zion. Not one person. In fact, I've seen quite the opposite. I saw a lot of people giving him props, telling him, hang in there. That's not something that you see with every program, especially the one 60 miles down the road. They're threatening, sending death threats to quarterbacks in FBS football when they're not playing up to what they think is their ability and making bad plays. So I think Zion was put in a bad position to make a bad play at that point of the game. Do I think it was the right play call? I'll stand by that. No, I think. Now, was that the play called? I don't know. There's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes that I'm not privy to. But again, like I mentioned, you have a chance to kick the field goal to tie it. You're at your 5-yard line. You can still get a first down. You got 31 seconds and 2 timeouts. I'm running the damn ball. I'm not giving him the opportunity to fail. Now, if he fumbles, that's another thing, and maybe that's another conversation. But a couple of people made the point, if that would have been successful, nobody would have questioned the play call. No, I would have absolutely questioned the play call, because I don't think you throw the ball in any. Now, again, if you have the tight end in the flat and you're running to the left, and that's a play that we run all the time, safe play, high percentage play, that I would, if something happens there, I'm not going to question it. Other than that, if he's not running the ball, I'm going to question it, whether or not it's successful. So I wasn't a fan of the play. I know Des sounded frustrated at the end of the game and already said, if you've got a problem with that play, that's on you. But I'm a fan and I have a problem with the play call. So it's not on Zion. You look on social media and the way that our fans support our players and our quarterback, nobody's going after Zion. Everybody wants him to succeed. Everybody wants him here. And I think as you hear silly rumors about, are we going to keep him next year or this or that? I mean, look around the country and how other fans of bigger programs treat their coaches and their players and the awful things that they say to them on social media. And yeah, they're getting paid, but they're also getting somewhat abused. You don't see that here. We appreciate the guy being here. And I think that's a lot to say for the fan base that we have. Now, again, our fan base needs to show up to the games. I'm watching Georgia Southern whip Georgia State's ass right now on national television, and they have a full house. 27-7 at the half. They're beating Georgia State, the team that we should have beaten last week. But it's a full house on a Thursday night. There's no excuse, Lafayette. Show up to the damn games.
I knew you were going to add a little punch there, but no, it's a good point. And look, let's be real with ourselves. Again, we didn't play well in the first half. I mean, we had 84 yards of total offense in the first half. I don't think our offense got past the 50-yard line one time in the first half, outside of that one drive that started at Georgia State's 30 or 35-yard line after we had forced the fumble. I mean, look, Zion was 6 for 17 for 34 yards in the first half. I mean, just to look at some of these stats real quick, Cajuns had 289 yards of total offense. Georgia State was giving up going into the game. They were giving up 301 yards or 301 passing yards per game. We had 124 the entire game. We had 165 yards rushing on the ground. Out of those 165, Zion had 119 of those. So and Jacob Caboti had 27 rushing yards on 13 carries, and between Draylon Washington and Zylan Perry, a combined yardage of, combined yardage, 19 yards. You're not going to beat many teams with those type of stats. I don't care if you're Georgia State. I don't care if you're Minnesota. I don't care if you're Buffalo. You have to be able to move the ball better against a team that showed that they can give up certain amounts of yardage, especially in the air. If you have a team that's giving up an average of 301 yards and you're against teams like Charlotte, UConn, and Rhode Island, and all you get is 124, to me, I feel like a lot of that had to do with the fact that I thought we were just out-schemed. I mean, Georgia State came in with a game plan and they executed it very, very well. That's something that I think, and I hope that this week our coaches, and I said it the other night, that our coaches went back to the drawing board, and I hope they felt sick looking at the film, because that we're better. I know that we're better than that. And so I just hope that they learn from it, if anything. Like Roby should say, Ellis for learn. If there's any week to learn, it was this past week on how we played on the field, especially on the offensive side.
Well, tape is out, man. We're 7 games into the season. Tape is out, and good coaching staffs will exploit what they see on tape. And that's exactly what happened during this game. And let me tell you, we were dominated on both lines in the first half of that game. And those defensive players for Georgia Southern were absolutely decimating our guys, just absolutely crushing them. And we saw some of that from our defense in the second half. Something got them fired up, because you saw guys hitting in the second half that were not in the first half of that game. So there were some adjustments, I think, in the second half by Lamar and the defense, but I got to say, maybe it was an attitude adjustment. Maybe it wasn't an adjustment on paper. We just came out with a little bit of attitude and we started hitting guys, and you saw the result. So yeah, look, we were talking about we get better as the season progresses. That was a step. That was a step back. That was definitely a step back this week. And we've got a very formidable opponent coming up. Now, South Al has done some things this season that made you kind of scratch your head. But if you look at the last two games, how many points have they scored? Like, incredible.
They've outscored in the last two games. They've outscored their opponent by a total of 110-10.
Yeah. So we're going to have to put up some points. We are going to have to put up some points, because if they're going to continue scoring as they do, we're not going to be able to go out for a whole half of football and kind of lollygag and hope that we can come back in the second half. It may be too late by the time the second half rolls around. So that step back has to be a step forward, because now you're starting to get into counting the number of games you need to win to get into a bowl game. Now, we still have to play the three teams in our division that are the worst teams in our division right now. But I'm not overlooking Arkansas State or ULM. Maybe Mississippi Southern to some extent. They call us the dreaded ULL word, so I'll call them Mississippi Southern, because they always seem to have it out for us. But I'm not overlooking Arkansas State and ULM, because if you come out flat, they're going to take advantage of it. They're hungry. They want to beat us. So
there's no doubt. Yeah.
So we gotta put our big boy pants on quick, and we got to make a statement against South Alabama to carry that through the rest of the season.
I think, other than the dynamic of how we lost the other night, where we were down by 20 and had the chance in the last few plays of the game, I think what hurts even more was if you win this game, you're 5-2 and you're 2-1 in conference. And talking about the upcoming schedule, you still have to, we're going to South Alabama this week. We know they play well at home. You still have to go to Troy. I feel like, I know all of these remaining games are Western Division opponents, but at the same time, losing this game this last weekend to me and hurting our conference record in that way, that's what was frustrating, because you win this game and you're 2-1 and you can, I hate to say it like this, but you can drop a game moving forward. Now we have to win out. And if what we saw the other night doesn't change and we don't improve and we get off to another slow start in the first half, it might not be pretty, because you're right. We are, and we'll talk about this a little later, but we are playing a team that is very hot right now at their house. That's what was so frustrating about getting this losses this past weekend. I felt like we needed this as a boost to our conference record if we really wanted to be in the race, because again, we probably could have maybe dropped one in the future. Now you have to win. Now you do have to win out, and you have to win out after playing one half of football for the second straight week in a row. Because remember, Texas State, we didn't play we didn't play well in the first half, and we had to come back, and we got lucky to, we lucked out and got some breaks and, stepped up in the second half to win that game. You can't keep doing that. We haven't played we haven't played a full week or a full game of football. We haven't played two halves of football all season.
No, we're constantly coming from behind, which is great when it works. And it almost worked again, but you can't, your leading rusher on your team can't be your quarterback. And I love Zion and I love what he does with his legs, but there were so many times in the first half of that game that he was like, the options just weren't there. He was just going to run it. Like, that's it. The game plan is Zion's running the ball. And whether that's by design or just the defense showing something Zion wasn't prepared for, look, they did a great job on the other side of the ball, both in execution and in play calling, and we said that. But you cannot allow your quarterback to be that exposed during a game, because that's when injuries happen. And look, Zion, when you watch him fall, he's as gracefully as he can is taking that fall, especially on the sideline. He'll do the thing where he turns over and he tries not to land on his knee or his shoulder or whatever. And that's great. But 120 whatever yards of rushing, I would rather we not ever see that again. I want to see that from Cabote. I want to see that from Draylon. I want to see that from the other guys, the 50 running backs we have on the roster, which the running backs didn't do a whole lot, but a lot of that had to do with their aggressiveness and the fact that we got a little bit dominated by their run defense. Look, they game planned us perfectly. And what is going to be so critical is, and Josh is criticizing the coaching on the first half of the season. What's going to be critical is how the coaching responds to, hey, not only is film out, now film's out that shows how to beat us. How are you going to respond to that coaching wise? What kinks are you going to throw into the game plan that will make them second guess what they think you're going to do? There wasn't a whole lot of that, especially in that first half, that we saw. Like, we saw exactly what we expected to see as an offense, and we couldn't get it done. And there was no, there were no kinks into our game plan in that first half, no adjustments that made us feel like, okay, well, we know that they're prepared for this. Let's try to throw something out there. There was nothing. The answer to that was run, Zion, run.
Drop passes.
No right?
creativity on the run game. Not many run attempts in the first half. Every third down throughout the entire game, you knew when we were lined up in the shotgun on third down. Well, we were always lined up in the shotgun, but especially on third down, you knew Georgia State was sending the house every time.
And it worked.
Where are the drag routes? Where are the drag routes? Where are the screens? Where are the wheel routes going to the flat or going to the boundary? Where's that creativity to counter a blitz, right? They were forcing Zion to do something that's uncomfortable to him, and that's sit in the pocket and make a throw. Well, what are you doing to counter that, right? That, to me, again, it goes back to coaching. And look, we like Josh said, he said it on the post game. We've always had Dez's back. We love this coaching staff. They got taken to school. There's no other way of putting it. We could not counter. We couldn't counter.
No, I agree. So it's on them to figure this out in a week against South Alabama, because again, not only is tape out now, tape's out on exactly how the formula you need to beat us. How do we respond? That's what I want to see this weekend. I want to see us respond. I want to see us do different things. I want to see different looks. I want to see when you think Zion's going to run, he passes. I want to see options, right? I want to see different things that we have not seen out of our playbook yet this season coming out against South Alabama, because we desperately need it. Obviously, they know how to game plan against Zion now. It's been a few games. How do we respond? How does our coaching staff respond? And how do we come out the gates? Is it going to be another flat start? Are we going to have another terrible first half? We can't afford to do that against South Alabama. Can't do it.
Totally agree. So we'll put a bow and crumple up the piece of paper from the Georgia State game.
Bow.
We'll put a bow. I was gonna say we'll put a bow on it, crumple it up, and throw it in the trash.
Light it on fire.
After what happened the other night, it was a tough loss, a gut-wrenching loss. And to your point, Nick, it's going to be interesting to see how this team responds this week. I know for a fact this team is tough. They're still gritty. They're not going to quit. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond. So the Cajuns, again, for the last time, drop a heartbreaker to the Georgia State Panthers. Final score at homecoming, 20-17, in front of a crowd of 20,044 fans. And the Cajuns' record now sits at 4-3 overall, 1-2 in conference play. And they will travel to Mobile on Friday, I think, right? Are they taking the bus or are they flying? I'm not sure. I think they're probably taking the bus to Mobile, right?
Shoot, that's only a couple hours away. I'd take the
about
bus.
A 4-hour drive.
Yeah.
Okay. They'll probably get there. Yeah, they're going to get there Friday. So the Cajuns will be taking on the Jaguars on Saturday, October 28th. Kickoff will be at 4:00 Central Standard Time. The game will be on ESPN Plus. They will be playing on South Alabama's campus at Hancock Whitney Bank Stadium. So let's talk a little bit about the South Alabama Jaguars. So the South Alabama Jaguars come in this week. They've had an 11-day break after demolishing Southern Miss last Tuesday night by the score of 55-3. They're 4-3 overall, 2-1 in conference play. They're coached by Coach Kane Womack. He is in his third season. He has a 19-3 record overall. He was 10-3 last year, tied for the Western Division title, lost the tiebreaker to Troy. But look, South Alabama last year was a good football team, and they beat the Cajuns at homecoming. Ironically, I believe, was it 23-20 or 20-17? I believe it was 20-17 as well.
I was so pissed off.
Yeah, the Cajuns need to learn how to score more than 17 points on homecoming, right?
And also win homecoming games.
Win, exactly. So the Cajuns are going to be looking to get some revenge this year as they head over to South Alabama. Now, a little bit about South Alabama, their wins. They have wins against Southeastern, Oklahoma State. They've defeated UL Monroe, and they've also defeated Southern Miss but also they've lost to Tulane, Central Michigan, as well as JMU. And outside of the Tulane loss, those two losses to Central Michigan and JMU have been within a one score. So they've had some close losses. They are averaging right now, their offense is averaging 35 points a game, and they've only given up 19 points a game. And UL falls right in the middle. The Cajuns are scoring right at 33 points a game. So it'll be interesting to see how the Cajun offense does against a really good defense. A really good South Alabama defense. They run a fairly balanced offensive attack. They run a spread similar to the Cajuns. They like to balance it out. Right now, I want to say they're averaging 272 yards of passing. They rank 36 in passing yards, and their rushing yardage averages 176 yards a game and ranked 41st in college football right now. Defensively, they're giving up only 198 passing yards, and they're 31st in pass defense. And just like Georgia State, they are only giving up 114 rushing yards, ranked 29th in rush defense. I believe Georgia State was only giving up 111 rushing yards. And as you saw, the Cajuns had some trouble running the football with their running backs. It looks like they're going to be challenged again this week. And offensively, total offense, South Alabama is averaging 448 yards per game, ranking them 22nd in FBS, and they've given up 312 yards per game. Their total offense, or should I say the defense, is ranked 18th in giving up total yardage, which is pretty impressive. So the Cajun offense going to have to turn it up a notch this week, as the Cajuns average 367 yards as they rank 60th in FBS in total offense. Now, this is the stat that sticks out to me about the Jaguars. Number one in the country in red zone scoring. They are 27 of 27 in the red zone. They score. They get in the red zone, they're going to score. The Cajuns are 23 of 31 in the red zone. And let's just say they're not ranked number one in the country. They're 110th. So to me, that's a little difference maker. That's a little bit of a factor in the game of how do the Cajuns do if they get inside the red zone. They're going to have to score, because South Alabama can do just that. Red zone defense, their opponents have scored 15 times out of 20, which means that South Alabama's red zone defense is ranked 26th in FBS. So this is a good football team. I mean, looking at these stats, this is a very good football team. I mean, when you go up against teams like Tulane, Oklahoma State, and you give JMU a good run for their money, and you spank ULM and USM back-to-back, this is a good football team. So let's talk a little bit about the players here. I cannot wait till this guy graduates. I feel like I've heard his name every year. Senior quarterback Carter Bradley, number 2. It seems like he's been there since South Alabama started football in 2009.
He's like the Justin Venable,
yes,
or the Stephen Feehan of baseball.
He just won't go away. But guess what? The Cajuns get to see him one last time this year. He right now is 138 of 205 as far as pass completions of pass attempts. He's 138 completions out of 205 pass attempts. He has 1,775 passing yards for the season, which averages 245 passing yards per game. He's thrown 11 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. So maybe there's a chance our secondary can step up. He's pick prone, if you will. So he's a good quarterback. He's a veteran quarterback. He understands the system, and the Cajun defense, Coach Lamar Morgan and his staff, they're going to have to be on their P's and Q's going against Mr. Bradley. Their rushing attack, led by running back, senior number 3, LaDamian Webb, another guy that we feel like we see every year. He's got 103 rushing attempts, 578 yards of rushing for the season, 12 touchdowns. He averages 5.6 yards a carry, and he's averaging 83 yards per game on the ground. So he is kind of he's a big workhorse for their rushing attack. Now, the passing game, very impressive. 2 receivers that stand out. Wide receiver, junior number 4, Colin Lacey. We've heard his name a few times. 48 reception, 826 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. He has 17 yards per catch, 118 yards per game. So he is going to be pretty much their X factor in the passing game. So Colin Lacey, that is somebody we definitely are going to be probably eyeing whenever Mr. Bradley goes back to throw. Another receiver to look out for, wide receiver, sophomore number 12, Jamal Pritchett, 24 receptions, 373 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, 16 yards per reception, 53 yards per game in receiving yards. Another weapon in their passing attack. On defense, inside linebacker, senior number 22, Trey Kaiser. He has 42 total tackles, 6 tackles for loss. They're also led by linebacker senior number 4, James Miller, 43 total tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss. Redshirt junior number 95, Brock Higdon, 14 total tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. So if Zion wants to get away from the front 4 or front line, Brock Higdon is going to be the guy that he's going to want to probably keep an eye on to avoid getting sacked. And last but not least, in the secondary, redshirt junior safety, Jaden Voisin. All right, so it's Voisin how we pronounce it, but it's probably Voisin the way they pronounce it over there. 34 total tackles, 2 interceptions. So he is somebody who looks like a ball hawk you want to be aware when Zion goes back to throw. So those are some key names I like to mention just to kind of keep an eye out when we take on the Jaguars. If you hear their names, there's a reason why. So looking at these stats, looking at these players, they're a veteran team. They have a lot of talent. They've got speed. They're physical. I feel like they're very similar to us. Wouldn't you agree with that?
In certain aspects, I would say yes. I think the one advantage that stands out to me is when you look at fumbles. They've had 5 fumbles on the season and 3 lost. We've had 16 fumbles on the season, 7 lost. Now, we only lost 7 out of that 16, but I mean, when you compare it to, they take care of the ball. And
we've lost more than they've actually had fumbles.
Absolutely. So that to me is something that stood out to me. A surprising stat is they actually have more penalties or average penalty yards than we do. They average 61 yards of penalties per game. We average around 49, 50. So I think if you're looking at something, maybe early in the game and not watching a whole lot of their games. I don't know if that's movement on the line or if that's silly personal foul penalties. But if it does go into the after the play stuff, then I think you see our guys try to get under their skin a little bit early in the game and try to draw some of those penalties, but they seem to be a little bit undisciplined there. The one thing that scares me, and you've seen this throughout the season, and I think it's I don't think people are talking about this enough, is the fact that we have given up 14 first down conversions out of 18 attempts. 14 fourth down conversions out of 18 attempts. That's 77%. When you're talking about a team that is good in the red zone, and then you're talking about the fact that 77% of the time we allow a team to get the 4th down, that tells me anything from the 50 on 4th down, they're probably going to go for it because there is a damn good chance they're going to get it against our defense. So that is one, that and the fumbles both of those concern me a little bit, but what concerns me more is one, they're almost 50% on third down conversion. And then two, our inability to stop a team on fourth down as much to the tune of 77% of the time, that stands out to me a lot. And when you have a high-powered offense like them, and you're at the 35-yard line debating on, it's fourth and 3, they might go for it. And you know what? There's a 77% chance they get it. So that's one thing that gives me a little bit of pause is we've got to find a way to stop teams going for it on fourth down, because obviously they see that we're having trouble stopping it, and they're going to take advantage of that.
You got to keep them off the field. That's what you got to do. And
on third
look,
or fourth down.
And part of that is offense too, right? So you have to keep it throws your entire psyche off of a rhythm, right? And that's what happened last week against Georgia State. The defense was on the field for so long, and whenever the offense would get back on the field, they would get a 3 and out. They couldn't move the football. So what would happen? We'd have to punt, we force a turnover, and then Georgia State's back on the field. And what happens? Our defense tires.
But not only that, look at the field position that Georgia State put us in. I mean, their special teams put us in. We almost had a freaking safety late in the game because we couldn't get it out the end zone, nearly couldn't get it out of the end zone. Their punter did a fantastic job.
He did. No, he did.
And I feel like we took a step back. Here was another kick out of bounds on a kickoff, setting them up at the 40. Why do we keep doing that, Jerry? There cannot be if somebody's coaching the guy to be directional on a kickoff to the point where it goes out of bounds, fire him. I can't believe that's what we're doing at this point. You've got Terry said how many yards it is, between the two sidelines.
I think it's like 50, isn't it?
It's like 50 something yards.
Yeah.
Like just kick it within the 50 something yards. And you know what? If he breaks one for 40, okay, I'm gonna still be pissed at our kick coverage. But at least we didn't kick it out of bounds. We didn't even make them work for it. I don't understand the thinking. And so what do we start doing? We start pooch kicking. Now, it ended up helping us because they only got it at the 30 after a pooch, but we got to be able to kick the damn ball through the end zone. This is so frustrating.
It's true.
And that could be yet again another thing that we have to worry about going into this game, besides the third and fourth down conversion, besides our ability to be penalty prone and be undisciplined. Now we also got to worry about the special teams not kicking the ball out of bounds. I mean, think about it. Let's say we come back and we tie the game. We go for a kickoff and we kick it out of bounds and get it at the 40. In a high-powered offense like South Alabama, that ain't a good thing. We have got to clean that up. And we're 8 games into the season still talking about it. When are we going to clean that stuff up?
Oh, it's a good point. It's a fair point, and it's field position is huge. And if you notice the games we've lost, it's because of the battle of field position, especially against. I mean, ODU was a prime example of that. I mean, we gave our kickoff coverage just had a bad night, and I mean, ODU started a lot of their drives within 60 yards. They didn't have too many long drives, and so if. To the credit of Georgia State, we didn't get that luxury. So all of our drives, we had to earn everything we had, and on top of that, we couldn't move the football until the second half. I mean, even there was a drive. The punter drove us. I think he punted twice since we got inside the 10-yard line, or at least once, and at a crucial time. And even in that last drive, we started out on like our own 20 and had to go all the way downfield. That takes a toll on an offense that struggled the other night. That takes a toll on you. And so this week, to me, you have to do whatever you can to pin that South Alabama offense way back in their own territory. Make them earn everything, because this is one of those weeks you do not want to give that offense good field position, especially the fact that they're number one in red zone scoring. You want to make it hard for them to get in the red zone, let alone the end zone. So, no, I think special teams is crucial this week, especially when it comes to field position.
Special teams, and again, we've got to show that we can stop a team on fourth down. and they're going to challenge us. I guarantee you, they see the stat that I'm reading. If I can read it, they know it. They know that if they go for it on fourth down, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to get it. So we've got to show the ability early in the game. If there is an opportunity for them to go for it on fourth down, we've got to stop them early. If we do not, they will continue to do it. So I think that's going to be big as well. I want to go back on my special teams comment and just make sure that I mention Dalen Cambry continues to be a force to be reckoned with on the special team side. I mean, his play again this game it definitely turned the momentum in our favor, but that was almost another turning point 2 weeks or 2 games in a row where his one play nearly, turned the momentum so much that we won those 2 games. So again, I'm a big fan of Dalen. Look for him to do big things on special teams again this week. So I didn't want to put it all on special teams as a whole. Dalen is definitely that diamond in the rough there.
Well, that fake punt flipped the script because we get ball in the
100%.
second half. We're down 20-7. Once again, we get a 3 and out. The offensive drive stalls. And then we pull off a fake punt for 18 yards. And even though we didn't get in the end zone, we still got points. And so when the fact that we got points, yes, it was only 20-10, but at the same time, now we started to kind of pierce their defense a little bit more on a longer drive where we had to start in our own territory. And then before you know it, we get another 3 and out, and the very next drive we score. So to me, that fake punt basically almost, if we win that game, that's to me, that's the play of the game.
Yeah.
But again, we shouldn't have to depend on that to get things going. I like the fact that we're being, making some key plays on special teams. I think that's huge, but we shouldn't have to depend on that to flip the script. I feel like we have to be more consistent offensively and be able to sustain drives without that stuff. But no, to Dalen's credit, I mean, no, he's a diamond in the rough, if you ask me.
And to go back to my comments about the last play of the game and how I still would have been pissed off at the play call, even if we would have scored, I think at this point of the game, we needed something. And like you said, we shouldn't have to depend on a trick play, a fake punt, but we needed something to spark the team. And if it didn't work, I wouldn't have been pissed off that he called it, because at least we're trying to get a spark under this team and get them going. So in the same way that somebody said, well, you would have been happy with the play call at the end of the game. No, I wouldn't have. And just like I wouldn't have been pissed off at this play call in the middle of the game if it didn't work. I think it's what we needed at that point and crucial moment, and it worked for us. And I'm glad it did.
No, it did. And we were able to turn things around. But you can't depend on that.
By the way, Georgia Southern is now up 34-7 on Georgia State with 9:11 left in the third quarter.
Wow, they let all their energy out on us.
34-7. Yeah, teams. I don't know what it is. A lot of teams get hyped up to play against it. Well,
Texas State should have lost to ULM the week before after they played us.
I know, it's crazy. Southern Miss. I mean, they play us like we're the freaking national champions every year. I don't understand it.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen on November 9th, but we still have 2 games between then to take care of business, and hopefully we get enough momentum we owe the Golden Eagles tremendously after the constant beatdowns they've given us. But anyway, so Nick, what are your 3 keys to victory against the Jaguars this weekend?
Yeah. So first, I think we've got to stop them on third and especially fourth downs, especially early in the game, to show them that we can. Otherwise, that could turn into something nasty later in the game. Take advantage of opportunities that are given to you. If there is a fumble or if there is an opportunity to get an interception, and we do that, we got to get points. And I'm not talking 3. We got to get 7 because they're a damn good team offensively, and we got to keep up with them. And again, I will say this every week going forward, special teams has got to do their job. They don't have to do an A+ job. I'm not talking about Kenny. Can he miss a kick? No big deal. I mean, the dude made 18 in a row. He missed it. That's fine. Move on. But our special teams as a whole, outside of he and Dalen, need to get better. And we got to kick the damn ball on kickoffs within the 53-yard space we have on the field and not kick it out of bounds. So those are my 3 keys to victory this week.
Yeah, my 3 keys to victory, kind of similar to yours. Score early. The last 2 weeks, we have not scored early, and we have not set the tone. We have not set a good tempo in the first half, which has caused us to get behind the 8 ball and get down by double digits. And I feel like this weekend, you go on the road to a team that's really hot right now. Getting down by double digits early on spells trouble for the rest of the game. I don't see an opportunity to come back like you did at home if you get down 2 scores, especially against a team that offensively is just on fire. So we have to score early. We have to get hot early, make some big plays early, and set the tempo to where we can make this game a lot closer and a lot more uncomfortable for South Alabama. The second key to victory to me is avoid giving up the big plays. South Alabama scores on big plays. If you look at their highlights, yes, they can sustain drives like Georgia State did, but a lot of their scores come on long pass plays. They come on long run plays, and they just wear you down like that. And I think if you're able to avoid the big plays and just like the last 2 weeks, force them to earn every yard that they get, I think that could be something that can work to our advantage. But like you said, Nick, whether it's a 3rd down conversion or including a 4th down conversion, do what you can to get them off the field and get them off the field quickly to where our offense could get something going, sustain drives, increase that time of possession, and throw off their game. Also, win the line of scrimmage battle. I thought last week we, for the most part, Georgia State beat us on both sides of the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball on us very well. They had, they had some really bad gashes against our front 7, and defensively, they put a lot of pressure on our guys and held us to 165 yards rushing. To which most of those rushing yards came from Zion Chris. That's due to the fact that their front 7 dominated us in that regard. We have to win the line of scrimmage battle against this team. Cannot do that like we did last week. If we dominate the line of scrimmage, I think to me, that's how we win this game. So again, score early, get off to a good start, avoid giving up big plays, make them earn everything, and win the line of scrimmage battle. That's my 3 keys to victory.
Looking as you wrap that up, Josh asked a good question. What were our 3rd down stats on offense against Georgia State? We were 7 for 18. So that's an opportunity we're going to have. I mean, and granted, a lot of that 18 was in the first half. So the 7 came in the second half. So that might be a little bit, distorted, but it's still your 7 out of 18. You got to do better on 3rd down. And that reflected in our score.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, 7 of 18 on 3rd down. What does that mean? You have to punt and you give them the ball back. And in the first half, they were moving the ball very well and they were gashing us on the line. I mean, their quarterback goes down. We put a hard hit on them. Their quarterback goes down. And their second string quarterback goes in. And all he does is hand the ball off, and he keeps it one time, runs a draw. Yeah, Granger. It was Granger that went down. Second string quarterback comes in from like their own 40. All he does is hand the ball off, and he runs one quarterback keeper on 3rd down. They score.
And we knew it was coming. We knew the guy wasn't going to throw the ball.
He didn't throw one time.
So why the hell did we struggle with that? Because we got dominated in the trenches.
That's where I say win the line of scrimmage battle. That's prime example. And when you do something like that, your spirit is shot. Your spirit is killed. You go back on the sideline all worn out going, what's going on? That was a prime example of that. So, again, the more you convert on 3rd down, the more you extend drives, the more you keep them off the field from doing that. And the more your defense is rested, well rested. This is a team, the South Alabama team is a team that can wear you down pretty fast if you don't do things right. Again, they've outscored their opponent in the last 2 weeks. They've scored 55 points their last 2 games against ULM and Southern Miss. They've scored in both of those games. They scored exactly the same way. 31 points in the first half, 24 points in the second half. So when I talk about score early and start fast, we can't. I hope they don't. I don't see them scoring 31 points against us in the first half. But I hope they still don't get to 20 in the first half either.
Well, I think we can't wait for second half adjustments. Like if we're going to make adjustments on defense or offense, we got to do it on the fly. We got to do it on the next drive. We can't wait to get in the locker room and start, because you might be down 31 by the time you get in the locker room. So you've got to make those adjustments on the fly as the game progresses. This is going to be very telling on our coaching staff on both sides of the ball on how we respond, because again, we know South Alabama can score and they're holding teams to under 20 points a game. How do we adjust to that on the fly? That'll be very telling.
And that's the thing, Nick. I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like this game it's probably, and everybody kept saying the Georgia State game was the most important game. I feel like this is the most important game, because I feel like if we win this game, we can carry that into Arkansas State. We could carry that into Southern Miss. And then that's when we start getting into a groove. That's when we start hitting stride into the crutch of our season, where now every single play matters, because now the standings start getting affected in the conference, right? I feel like this game is sort of that gatekeeper to whether or not we can make a run. I think if we win this game, I know Troy only has one conference loss, but you'll give South Alabama their second conference loss. So now you win, you have the tiebreaker over them. So now you're in second place, and then you still have a shot at Troy, and Troy still has to play Texas State. So does South Alabama. Both those teams have to play Texas State. So that's the importance of winning this game, because now that can set the trend moving forward of us being in that race for the Western Division.
Look, I would typically agree with you on this. I think I would agree with you on this had we beaten Georgia State. But I think we're at the point of our season where the only game I care about is the next one. And
that's where we are. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I know we're talking about the three at the bottom of the division, but they are still three teams that if you're not playing your A game, they could still come up and beat you. I mean, Arkansas State has gotten a couple of wins that you kind of were like, whoa, what the hell? ULM, they almost win every week and they seem to lose it somehow.
They beat us last year.
Man. Now, are we a better team than we were last year? Yeah, but still, they're going to come in knowing that and we're going to have a target on us because they want to beat us every year. Southern Miss, they always get hyped up in every sport that they play against us. So while I get your point and I appreciate it, I think this game tells us, when you couple it with Texas State, if we beat South Alabama, then you're starting to feel like, okay, we can beat any team in the West. But if you drop this game, one, you're behind the eight ball, and two, you're starting to question yourself a little bit. So I think for confidence purposes and for us going through the remainder of the season, I think this is the biggest game by far that we have had this season. And it will tell me a lot about how our coaching staff has responded to what Georgia State did to us last week. And also, again, if we can make adjustments on the fly, if we can do that. And I think if we can do that, then that'll put us in a much better position than we should be in if we go down by one or two scores. But man, if we do what we did last week and just wait until halftime and go in and say, all right, guys, let's turn it around, it's going to be a long night.
No, we're going to lose. I'm just going to say it straight up. We're going to lose if we do that. And, I like your point about the next game is the most important. And it's kind of a cliche statement, but you're right. I think what I'm trying to imply here, what I was implying was if we win this game, the schedule I hate to say it like this, but it does ease up a little bit, right? Arkansas State's inconsistent. Southern Miss is probably their worst team they've had in a decade. Now, granted, they always, like you said, they always play us as if, they're playing for a championship. But I feel like you win this game and you take the same approach moving forward, you can get things going and get into that groove. So by the time you get to Troy, you're on a 3-game win streak. You have momentum. You have confidence. That to me is what's the most important thing about this game. Besides the fact that, this is a race for the Western Division. You get this game to me is the gatekeeper. It's the gatekeeper.
This game to me is going to tell us whether we're ahead of where we were last year.
That's a good point.
I mean that's it. I mean we've been so up and down all season. You know, we had some high highs, beating Texas State, low lows, losing to ODU, nearly losing to Buffalo. Feels like last year. Lost to ULM, y'all lost to Rice. Feels like up and down. This game will tell me if you know where are we. Really, the rest of the games this season will tell me where are we, because we should beat the 3 teams on the schedule handily. The 3 bottom teams on the schedule.
On paper, yeah.
We should.
On paper.
Will we? We should have beaten Rice last year. Hell, we should have beaten Old Dominion this year. We didn't. We should have beaten Georgia State last week. We didn't. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it'll tell us that. To me, this will be very telling again on how far not only how our talent has come, but also how far our coaching has come.
That's another thing too, is how do the coaches adjust after the last 2 weeks of not being able to get things going? Because the scripted plays, you know, Josh mentioned it. we didn't do too well with those scripted plays against Texas State or Georgia State, which is weird because usually it's the scripted plays that kind of get your offense into a groove. I think this time around, the scripted plays are going to have to work. They're going to have to work this time if they want a chance. So anyways, for those of you who are going to South Alabama this week, I remember when I used to go, I actually went in 2021. I stay in Biloxi. I've stayed in Biloxi. They got a whole slew of casinos down there. You've got the Beau Rivage, the Hard Rock, Harris, Golden Nugget, and it's about a 45-minute drive to South Alabama's campus to Mobile, straight shot on I-10. Met a few Cajun fans that have done the same in the past. I think I stayed when we went to the bowl game in Mobile. We did the same thing. But if you are going to Mobile, there are a lot of places to stay along the coast. Mobile's a great place. If you want to go maybe drive an extra 45 minutes to Gulf Shores and check out the beach front, you can do that. So if you're making a trip down there, just to let you know, it's interesting that I got a text message from a buddy of mine, and I looked at their ticket prices. So to anybody wondering, the ticket prices are very affordable at South Alabama. And you know, we talk about the ticket prices here and the ridiculous fees that we have with Ticketmaster, you know, the fees that equal the amount of the actual ticket. Check these ticket prices out. Okay, Nick, I actually did my research yesterday on South Alabama's website at Hancock Whitney Stadium. You know, the brand new stadium where every view in the stadium is fairly nice. Because when I went to the game in 21, that was the first time I stepped foot in the stadium. And by the way, I think the stadium holds around 25,000 fans. It's right in the heart of their campus. I mean, it is a perfect size stadium and perfect location for that school. I thought they did a great job with it. And so I go on their website and I got three different sections. Okay. I got one section where the Cajuns are sitting. I got one section around the 10-yard line on the other side. And I have one in the corner end zone on the home side, or where South Alabama, most of the South Alabama fans are. So I'll start with the Cajun section because that's where most UL fans will be sitting. In section 130, total ticket cost with fees and everything included. Nick, take a guess of what it was. And this is on the first section, by the way, like a few rows from the field.
I don't know, man. $20?
$25. Section 214, second deck corner end zone, opposite end on South Alabama's side. Second deck. Take a guess on what the total
maybe that one's $20.
$20 with fees and everything included. Fees, taxes, everything. Grand total.
Ours would be
$20
$20, and then they add on 20, so it'd be 40. It'd be 42 because there'd be a little extra like sales tax on top.
The $3 sales tax.
Good God, man.
So these two sections, 130 in the bottom corner is $25 total. That's where most of the Cajun fans will probably sit. So you'll probably pay around 25. If you sit in the second deck on the home side, it's $20. Section 222, the 5 to 10 yard line, second deck, where you could pretty much see everything. Grand total $25. So you're paying anywhere in the stadium a grand total of anywhere from $20 to $25 a ticket. And that's with fees and taxes and sales taxes, everything included in these ticket prices. And now, could you imagine? Could you imagine if we did that here?
I was going to say, don't come at me. Well, you can get those prices if you go to the ticket office. Well, you shouldn't have to go to the freaking ticket office. Okay. We're preaching digital. You shouldn't have to go to the ticket office.
I live in Lafayette and got these ticket prices online.
So, we got to get out of this Ticketmaster.
It's not like I can't just get in a plane and go fly to Mobile to go to their ticket office to go get their tickets. I mean, what I'm saying is if South Alabama can sell general admission tickets in nice sections for grand totals of $20 to $25 with fees and everything included, ours shouldn't be around $40 to $45 for the same thing.
Well, I'm not blaming the current administration because it's not their decision. They didn't.
No, it's not Ticketmaster. It's not. But
we got to get.
We got to get out that deal. We got to get out that deal.
Selling tickets. It's it's not rocket science. Like, you can't tell me that it's that complicated to set up a system to sell tickets, or there isn't a system already set up that we can buy and pay on the front end and kick on a couple, maybe 25 cents a ticket to pay for it. There's got to be a better solution than Ticketmaster. That is absolutely awful.
Well, so South Alabama uses a ticket company called Paceolin. I'm not sure who of any other schools or what other schools use them, but I think it's pronounced Paceolin, and they're the ones that handle the tickets, and I believe it's internal. Kind of like I think Southern Miss does the same thing.
I don't care what it's called. It could be Nicodomia, whatever it's called. It doesn't matter. The fact that they can do this cheaper, it tells you everything. It's not rocket science. They're doing the same thing as Ticketmaster and doing it for cheaper. So we have got to find a way to get out of this contract. I'm sure there's a renewal up at some point, but I will still blame. There are tickets available. If you want to go to a game, there are tickets available. And if you want to go, you don't have to pay $1. I guarantee you. That being said, we've got to do everything we can to get the people to want to go to the games. And if they don't want to go searching for free tickets, be able to pay, $60 to take a whole family out. We got to find a way to do that. And that starts with this Ticketmaster debacle. That's got to go. And I think that's consensus among all fans. I don't think anybody's saying, oh, I love Ticketmaster. Nah, it's awful.
No, I mean, when your fees and your taxes equal, or the amount of fees and taxes equal the actual cost of the ticket, then you've got problems. Because again, it's one ticket. I mean, if I pay an $18 general admission ticket and my grand total is $40, and
you can't even get the freaking physical ticket. Like, it's not even, and I'm all about the digital age, but let me tell you, when I go to a bowl game, I keep those tickets and I display those tickets, and I'm proud of having the physical ticket in front of me. So you're telling me I got to pay $45 for a $20 ticket and I don't even get a physical ticket? What kind of BS is that? Got to get rid of them.
It's ridiculous. But anyway, so yeah, if you are going to the South Alabama game this weekend, if you are going to Mobile, just know that the tickets you buy are going to be fairly affordable. So I guess that's one thing you get to look forward to for any Cajun fans traveling down to Mobile for this matchup. So that's a little bit of a preview. We'll come back with the predictions before the end of this episode. So yeah, again, Cajuns taking on South Alabama this weekend. The Jaguars with a record, both teams have a record of 4-3. The only difference is South Alabama's 2-1 in conference. Cajuns sit at 1-2 in conference, and kickoff will be Saturday at 4 p.m. You can watch the game on ESPN Plus, listen to the game on Hot 107.9 or 103.3 The GOAT, and the game will be played on campus at Hancock Whitney Bank Stadium, and there are tickets available. It's not going to be a sellout. The place might be packed. Usually, I think they usually bring a crowd when the Cajuns come to town, but it should be a great atmosphere. The weather should be nice. Fall weather should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. Mobile and Lafayette have a little bit of a rivalry somewhat. Because,
they're very similar.
They're very similar. And I remember when the Ice Gators were playing, they had the Mobile Mystics. And they could not ever beat us. And that was the most fun rivalry ever because we just would go over there and spank them every single time. But off topic, did you watch wrestling as a kid? You probably didn't. But
sort of, yeah.
There was the Undertaker, right? The Undertaker.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean,
and his manager was Paul Bearer. Big.
Oh, yes.
Well, funny story. Through hockey and the Mobile Lafayette, it was a friendly rivalry. It was never ugly. But through that rivalry, I started talking to this guy, Mobile, and blah, 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 whatever. He turned out to be Paul Bearer's son.
Really?
And so, lifelong friend ever since then. Great dude. Unfortunately, Paul passed away. Well, that's Bob is his real name. He passed away a few years ago. I went to the funeral, but really cool that I knew his son, and it's crazy how those things go out. So through hockey in Louisiana, which is crazy enough, I met Paul Bearer's son.
Well, Paul Bearer is one of the most famous managers in the history of the
Of all
WWE.
time.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's no doubt outside of what's the guy's name now? The one who beat the Undertaker. Who was the manager in WrestleMania 30? With Brock Lesnar. Darn it.
I quit watching it.
Drawing a
after
blank.
that.
Let me ask you this off topic. Who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
Ric Flair, by far.
Ric Flair.
Yeah. As a kid, that's when I grew up when Ric Flair and Sting were like, and I saw them in the Cajun Dome, and like I was still young enough to like hope Sting won, but then Ric Flair like was just the bad guy, and then it started being cool to like the bad guys. So 100% Ric Flair.
NWO era. Yeah, I grew up a Hulkamaniac, but he kind of turned bad, but I fell in love with the NWO, and of course, I'm a huge fan of The Rock. I was always a big fan of The Rock. So when Hulk Hogan and The Rock wrestled at WrestleMania 18, that was a dream come true for me.
Sorry, Josh, my ADHD takes over sometimes,
Yeah.
and I go on a tangent. The whole point of this, Josh, was that there's a great fun rivalry between Mobile and Lafayette dating way back in the day, and that's how we ended up me talking about Paul Bearer's son.
There you go. So anyway, we won't get too far off out in the woods, but it's always good to bring up, childhood memories like that. But anyway, so that's going to do it for the preview part going into South Alabama. Again, we will talk about predictions towards the end of the episode. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on around the Sun Belt Conference. Obviously, right now, as we speak, I know when this episode airs tomorrow, the game will be over, but Georgia State and Georgia Southern are playing. I'll get to that score in a minute because we have to review what happened last week in the Sun Belt Conference. So starting off, James Madison goes to Marshall. They defeat the Thundering Herd by the score of 20-9. They remain undefeated. Georgia Southern took care of ULM, but ULM actually gave them a decent fight, but just not enough. Georgia Southern victorious over the Warhawks in Statesboro by the score of 38-28. Old Dominion making Sean Clark's seat a little bit hotter. ODU, big victory over Appalachian State. They defeat the Mountaineers in Virginia by the score of 28-21. Coastal Carolina goes to Jonesboro, takes care of business against the Red Wolves of Arkansas State. Coastal Carolina defeats Arkansas State by the score of 27-17. South Alabama, as we all know, defeated Southern Miss last Tuesday night by the score of 55-3. And of course, as we all know, the dreaded score, Georgia State defeats the Cajuns by the score of 20-17. And speaking of Georgia State, they're actually playing tonight against Georgia Southern. Currently, right now, it's not looking so pretty for the Panthers. Georgia Southern leads their arch rival by the score, or Georgia Southern leads Georgia State, their arch rival, by the score of 34-21. But believe it or not, Georgia State's making a little bit of a comeback, and they have the football to start the fourth quarter. So it'll be interesting to see once everybody starts listening tomorrow how the game turned out. Unfortunately, we'll probably be off the air by the time this game is over, but looks like Georgia State, they kind of put on their Cajuns hat and decided to show up in the second half, Nick.
Yeah. Oh man, they can't. Georgia Southern can't blow this game. I mean, I keep on looking over. Man, I can't stand Sean Elliott. I want them to lose at everything. I want them to lose at Tiddlywinks because of that guy.
Anyways, so that's going on right now in Statesboro. The Battle of the Rock. Southern Miss. Now, this game was hyped big time before the season started. Two teams, both black and gold. Stadiums, both nicknamed the Rock. The Southern Miss Golden Eagles will travel to Boone, North Carolina to take on the App State Mountaineers. Both teams have must-wins. This is a must-win for both. Right now, App State sits at 3-4, and let's just say their fans have been very vocal about how unhappy they are. On the other hand, you've got a 1-6 Southern Miss team where they totally got destroyed by South Alabama last week, and their head football coach, Will Hall, officially gave up his play calling duties, and I believe he handed the play calling duties over to his offensive line coach. So there's going to be some changes there in certain obligations. I mean, when the head coach gives up his play calling duties, there's something obviously wrong. So again, Southern Miss will take on App State. Kickoff at 2:30 Central Standard Time. Game will be on ESPN Plus. So the Cajuns' next opponent after South Alabama, Arkansas State, will travel to Monroe, Louisiana to take on the ULM Warhawks. Kickoff will be at 4 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Marshall travels to Coastal Carolina to take on the Chanticleers. Kickoff is at 5, and you will see the game on the NFL Network. Big Western Division game next to the Cajuns in South Alabama. Troy will go to San Marcos to take on the Texas State Bobcats. That's actually going to be a really good matchup. Looking forward to seeing how that works. Troy and Texas State will kick off at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and the game will be on ESPN Plus. And Old Dominion will travel to number 25 JMU to take on the Dukes, and that kickoff will be at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, and the game will be televised on ESPNU. And actually, this is the second straight year in a row JMU, even though they're in the transition period, has been ranked in the top 25.
Can we talk about this?
Sure.
Because I'm so sick of hearing James Madison fans talk about, well, we need an exception. Well, we need this. Well, you need to change the rules. Well, there's things called amendments to rules, and we need to be allowed to blah, blah, blah. Look, I get it would be great for the conference. The rules are in place for a reason. It may be a stupid reason, and maybe it doesn't necessarily apply to you, but Georgia Southern had to go through it. App State had to go through it. And guess what? You're not exempt either. So you can have your little Secretary of State or Attorney General write the NCAA. You can have your little politician, senator, whatever, throw this big, go off on a tangent on Twitter to get more votes. But at the end of the day, it's not going to get changed. So shut up about it. We get it. It sucks. I'd be pissed too if I were a fan. But you got to give it up, man. Like, I get it. I get it. It sucks, but quit trying to make it happen. It's not going to happen. It's not. The NCAA has already made it clear that they are not going to change the rules because James Madison is having another good season. Give it up. I don't hate James Madison, but I'll tell you what, half of this league is tired of hearing from their fans bitching and moaning every week on how they should be this and they should be that. It would be great for the league. Guess what? Do it next year. You do it next year, you don't have a problem. Tired of hearing of it. Sick of it. Shut up. Take your medicine. And when you qualify to do it, then we can talk. But until then, stop, because it's annoying. You're annoying all of us. That is all I have to say about that.
Look, man, I don't like it either. You know, it's a bummer because when JMU wins and these teams win, it helps our conference. So JMU being in the top 25, especially as an FCS call-up in their second year in a row,
amazing,
being in the top 25, that's very impressive. But unfortunately, you can't just bend the rules because you're winning games. I don't like the rules. Look, I wish JMU could be in the hunt for a New Year's Six. I think they could compete for one. But the problem is when you sign the contract to make the transition, and I don't think the transition rules are right. I think if you're good enough, you should go to play in the postseason. I think it's only fair. But to me, to set that precedence, you have to set that precedence before the team moves. You can't just all of a sudden on the fly. It's not like the COVID season where you can just change your mind on the fly because half of college football is not even playing. Unfortunately for JMU, they're stuck in a predicament where their team's not only really good, but they're ranked and they don't get that opportunity. Look, I don't like it, but before you transition, to me, what the solution should be is let this be an example to the NCAA to where when a team moves up to the FBS level, that the rules are in place to where there's no, bowl ban or postseason ban or postseason, moratorium once they transition up. Because look, I think GMU deserves a spot in the postseason. I do. But unfortunately, when you sign the contract to move up, unfortunately, that's just the way that it is.
Well,
Not saying it's right.
I think that
but
now that it's, $100 million to move up from FCS to FBS or whatever it is, I think it's like $5 million now. It is the number. I don't think you're going to see that many more move ups in the next few years. So I think that's going to work itself out. But yeah, I think, look, if you agree to the rules when you sign to do it, then you can't just say, well, one of the arguments was, well, amendments are made in the laws in the country. We ain't talking about laws in the country. We're talking about FBS football. Like there ain't amendments to be made. The answer is no. So don't fall for this politician that you disagree with 99% of the time, but now on her side because she's being loud about thinking that she's going to change anything. Nobody's going to change anything. Y'all just calm down, and when it's your time, do it. I have mad respect for what you've done already. Top 25 is fantastic. You might still get a bowl bid depending on how many teams are bowl eligible. But just shut up about it. We get it. It sucks. Move on.
I just don't know. The thing for me is in that regard is, so if there's no specific or strict rule in place to make a postseason in a transition period, does that mean it's a situational thing now? Like if your team wins so many games that all of a sudden now they should be bowl eligible and allowed to go to a bowl game again? That needs to be settled before a team moves. You can't just do that on the fly because this team is all of a sudden winning. I don't like it. I'm actually upset as like some JMU fans are, but at the same time, I hate to say it, but you kind of agreed to it when you made the move. Not saying it's right, but
again, they still may have the opportunity because it's my understanding if there aren't enough bowl eligible teams. So if you have a team that is, 5-7, and sometimes they have to admit those because they're not eligible teams. I think they get a nod before those teams. So there may still be an opportunity. They think that they should be in the conversation for the a New Year's Six game. But I mean, it's almost, look, they're almost like Liberty fans. They think that they deserve everything. Liberty fans are the same way. Liberty fans are the most delusional bunch of fans I've ever seen in my life. But that's a whole other story.
Liberty's undefeated, beating Sam Houston. Like,
don't tell them that. I mean, they're pumping up Sam Houston like they're freaking
their next
the best
game
in the country.
Their next game is against Louisiana Tech, who's 3-6.
That might be the only game I ever pull for Louisiana Tech is to beat Liberty. I want somebody to beat Liberty just to shut them up.
No, because Liberty beating them gives Louisiana Tech their third straight losing season. So no, I'm hoping Liberty hangs 60 on them. But that's just me. That's just
that's just a point.
So, anyways, but yeah, to your point. It's unfortunate the rules are the way they are. And look, they could amend them if they wanted to, but what precedence does it set for the future? Is it going to be a situational thing where if a team just automatically becomes, what if you want to set those boundaries where in the future when a team moves up, hey, if you make the top 25, you get a shot, or if you win 8 games, you get to go, or you win so many games, kind of like the bowl eligibility rule of how many FBS teams you beat. That's fine. But you got to set it before it happens. You can't just all of a sudden the team starts winning and, they need to change it. I'm just
it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, Jerry. I'm just sick of hearing about it. Like we all know it's not going to happen. Quit your whining. Move on.
Anyways, back to the schedule. And I mentioned pretty much every game. And last but not least, Cajuns, South Alabama, 4:00. I've already said that on Saturday, ESPN Plus. So that's going to do it for Around the Sun Belt. Let's talk a little bit about what happened the other night on campus. This is a new event to kick off men's and women's basketball. UL Swamp Slam. It was in the Student Union Courtyard. There was a really cool basketball court, free throw line, 3-point line. There were 3-point shooting contests for both men's and women's basketball. There was the Sun Belt Conference ring ceremony for the men's basketball team and their Sun Belt Conference championship last year. They got their rings. There were food trucks for the students to enjoy dinner and get some good eats on campus. That was really cool. And a Red Dot Club sign up, which the Red Dot Club, I was told, I believe Coach Marlin ordered a bunch of red dot shirts. It looks like they're trying to bring the red dots back to the student body, Nick. I think that's pretty cool. You want to get student involvement? That's how you do it.
I like everything that they did with this event, and I like the red dot thing, regardless of if you're thrilled about where they went with this coaching situation or whatever. The fact of the matter is we still got to support the guys that are on the team. And if we want to be known as one of the better, I hate saying mid-majors, but you know, that term in the country, we got to show up to the games. It's the same as football. So we got to find a way to energize the students, because I think it really does start with the students. And it's good to see the coaching staff and the administration do some creative things and try to get students there and participating. Because a lot of, I feel like we're a little bit behind the eight ball. We kind of missed out on this stuff because we haven't been doing it longer. But it's good to see them making an effort. And hey, you got to give credit to whoever made this happen, because I think it's a great thing. And the red dots, man, that goes way back before even our time, Jerry.
It's Black Coliseum days,
and so that look, we can create that excitement. It's just somebody's got to take that step and give the effort, and it's good to see the effort being made. Again, don't stop if in the first season you only get 5 people signing up for the Red Dot Club. Keep it going. It will happen if you keep trying, but you can't do a one and done. But hopefully we get some student participation. I know Doug goes to the games. I know Alex goes to the games. I know a bunch of students go to the games. But we need to again start showing up to support our players and their colleagues really in college. So.
No, I think that's exciting. I mean, I think that's how you build a student section. That's how you build a spirit group. I think that's how you build atmosphere. Lately, the Cajun Dome atmosphere has not been up to par with what we've seen in the past. And, people could throw every excuse. Oh, it's basketball's dead in the South and all this foolishness. Look, I don't believe that. I think if you create an environment that creates fan engagement, the Cajun Dome could be rocking. I remember when we brought the Cajun chicken back last year, and I keep bringing it up. That place was loud. It brought back so many memories. I remember telling Kayla walking out the Cajun Dome, I said, babe, this is what the Cajun Dome used to be like when this team was winning every year. And we had about, I think it was like 5,500. It was, 5,500 people showed up to that game. I said, we used to have 7,000 or 8,000. Now picture 7,000 or 8,000 with that same type of energy. That's why we would always win at home. We were always a sixth man in that dome. So you want to get that type of crowd. You want to get that type of camaraderie. And you want to kill that narrative that, oh, it's not the same in the South. Nonsense. You get the students involved, you get the Red Dot Club going, and you build a coalition of students who will show up every game, bring the same amount of energy, and it'll feed off into the fans, and it'll create an environment to where people would want to go. And so I'm excited about that. When I heard about that, I was ecstatic. Our boy Jacob Lemonnier, a good friend of the pods, I asked him, I said, what's up with the Red Dot Club? And he said, well, this is what's going on. And so very excited about that. I think that's going to be huge. I wish we had that when I was a student, where we could have had something like that, because I went to every game. So looking forward to it. So the students, if you're listening, sign up for it. I'm sure you get, I don't know if you probably get some cool perks with it too. You probably get a newsletter. You probably get some cool stuff, some cool souvenirs. Check it out. I'm sure. I don't even know if it costs anything, to be honest with you.
But Jerry, what I wanted to point out is this is a perfect bridging of like the old guard and the new students.
Absolutely.
And we talk about that. We have an older fan base, but this is kind of that bridge toward tipping your cap to the old fan base, but also moving forward and getting new fans. I love it. And I wish we do more of it. I caught Jerry in the middle of a chomp.
I was chomping my eyes. Look, it's time to bridge the gap. It's time. Look, we talk about our fan base, a lot of older fans who have put many, many decades in supporting this program. It's time to pass the torch to the younger generation. And that includes the students. The students, the young alumni, it's their turn to step up and start showing support. And that goes for the administration. It's time to reach out to this younger generation, because they're the future of this fan base. And so I think, to your point, this is definitely a start. And, look, what drives alumni back to games is their memories of when they were in college. The experience when they used to go to the games. If you have a bad experience, you're not going to go back because you don't want to relive it, right? So if you create a good environment at these basketball games with a cool student section. And, I remember last year after every win, we went undefeated in the Cajun Dome in men's basketball. The basketball team would go to the student section and start jumping up and down and hooting and hollering. And it turned into a great atmosphere and students wanted to go back. So you start something like that. Students have great memories of those moments. And so that's what drives them back and eventually starts donating to RCAF and going to the games. And that's how it begins. You bring back those memories. So anyways, that was Swamp Slam. I hope they do this every year. I heard it looked like a good turnout, looked like a great event. And so what does that do? Well, that kicks off the men's and women's basketball season. Let's talk a little bit about that. Women's basketball season opener will be on November 6th, which is a Monday. They'll take on Spring Hill. Tip-off is at 5 o'clock in the Cajun Dome. And FYI, for women's basketball games, admission, no cost. It's free. No fees, no taxes, nothing. So just show up. Coach Gary Broadhead and the ladies will be ready to go. They were picked 6th in the Sun Belt Conference preseason polls. So that team has a lot to prove. And I know Coach Broadhead and his team will be ready to go. They always battle. So looking forward to that. And the men's basketball team will actually have a preseason game or an exhibition game this coming Monday, October 30th against UT Tyler. Tip-off will be at 7 p.m. in the Cajun Dome. It's a good way to kick off or kind of get their feet wet and kick off the season. But the official season opener will be the same night as the women's season opener on November 6th, which is a Monday at the Cajun Dome against Youngstown State. The game will tip off at 7:30, of course. So it looks like it's going to be a doubleheader. So again, the women's basketball team will take on Spring Hill at 5, and the Cajuns men's basketball team will take on Youngstown State at 7:30 in the Cajun Dome, both on Monday, November 6th. So basketball season's here. We'll be talking a little bit about basketball as time goes on. Usually early on in the season, they tend to play their non-conference, and some of which are, not really. Like, for example, I hope the women's team could beat Spring Hill, right? But we'll see. You never know. I mean, there's a lot of upsets around the country to like D3 teams. And you look at, it's like these big name teams lose to like D3 teams. And you're like, how did that happen? So let's just hope we're not one of them.
You sounded so unconvinced we could beat Spring Hill by that comment, but I'm with you. I'm hoping we can pull out that dub.
I think we lost to like Dillard or Centenary a few years ago. I think it was the women's team did. So I don't want to, I'm not going to predict anything
Don't jinx
yet.
it, okay?
I don't want to jinx it. I'm knocking on wood right now. No, Coach Gary and Coach Bob Marlin, they'll have their teams ready. So looking forward to that. So that's basketball. Let's talk a little bit about Cajuns women's soccer. The Cajuns, they actually had a game tonight. I have to do a little bit of research. I know they played, I believe they took on Marshall for senior night, if I'm not mistaken. And let's see real quickly, because it wasn't real time. They had their senior night tonight. And guess what? The Cajuns pulled off the W. Good win on senior night against the Thundering Herd of Marshall. So the Cajuns record now sits at 7-8-2 overall, 4-6 in conference play. Last Thursday, they took on Arkansas State at home, and they beat the Red Wolves by the score of 3-1 before traveling to Troy on Sunday and losing by a score of 1-0. But like I said, tonight, they defeated Marshall by the score of 1-0. And I believe that will do it for the regular season for women's soccer. They'll actually travel to Foley, Alabama, starting on Monday for the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. So good luck to Coach Chris McBride and the girls. Go out there and win us a championship in Foley.
Look, and another thing, speaking of Foley, if you're looking to go to the South Alabama game this weekend and you have to convince, the better half of the benefits of going to Mobile, Foley, Alabama is a quick drive. There is a huge outlet mall out there. I know every time we go to Mobile, sometimes I'd bring my parents. My mom, the first thing she did while we went and watched the game was go to Foley. So that's a little bit of, a little bit of firepower you have to hold there if you're trying to convince the better half that you want to go.
Oh, you talking about that outlet mall off
Yeah,
I-10?
that
It's
outlet,
like
yeah.
that's gigantic or ginormous. Yeah, I know
Exactly.
exactly. It's always so whenever I go to Florida or like driving to Destin, that's always kind of like the mark of I know, okay, I'm within like an hour and 20 minutes outside of Destin right now. So like that's kind of like a landmark that I put in my head of okay, here's where I'd start to predict the time of when we're going to get there, estimated time of arrival.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to Cajuns volleyball. So the Cajuns will play their senior weekend this weekend against ULM. The Cajuns, Coach Christy Gray and her volleyball team, they're now 13-11 overall, 4-6 in conference play. Last week, they traveled to Norfolk, Virginia to take on the Monarchs of ODU, and they actually split the weekend. They lost the first match by the score of 3-1 last Thursday, but Friday they redeemed themselves with a win by the score of 3-1. Again, they'll take on ULM this weekend for senior weekend. They will play on Friday at 6 p.m. and then on Saturday at 1 p.m. at Earl K. Long. Admission is free, and you can watch both matches on ESPN Plus. Moving on, Cajuns golf. Cajuns are in Hawaii right now, like you had mentioned. They are at the Ka'anapali Classic Collegiate Invitational. They had a match today, Friday and Saturday. And I believe today their match was at 1:30. I looked at their standings. Right now, they currently are tied in 10th place. I believe there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 20 teams. There's 20 teams in this tournament, which include teams like Clemson, Colorado, Gonzaga, UConn, Boise State, North Florida, Hawaii, Oklahoma, Georgia, Liberty, Air Force. Those are a few teams. And right now, again, the Cajuns are tied at 10th place. They will play again tomorrow. Tee time is at 1:30. So good luck to the Cajuns golf team. This is actually the last tournament before returning for the spring season in February. All right. So we got a reminder from our good friend Josh that our nationally ranked water ski team, they are in the 2023 Syndicate NCWSA National Water Ski Championship. It'll be from, I think, today, tomorrow, and Saturday at the Tri-Lakes in Louisiana. Best of luck to the water ski team. And I don't know, is this for the national title?
I'm not sure. I don't know. That's the first I hear of it.
Yeah, if it is, hey, bring us another one. I believe we have 9 national titles right now. I think we need, it doesn't hurt to get that hurt to get that 10th. So best of luck to the water ski team, and bring us home a title. So that is around Reinhard Drive. What's going on outside of football? Lots going on right now, Nick. Lots going on. And of course, I believe the Cajun softball team had a fall ball game against Southeastern the other night. They were victorious. I forgot the score. I think it was like 5-3 or 6-3. And the baseball team will have some inter squad scrimmages coming up this week. And then I believe they have a scrimmage. They have a scrimmage against Nichols at
Nichols
the Teague.
and LSU.
Yeah, Nichols. They'll play Nichols first, I believe, at the Teague on November 5th. First pitch is at 1:00. I'm actually going to try to make that game. It's always fun to get a little bit of Cajuns baseball in the fall mixed with football. That's always kind of a cool mix-up, if you ask me. I'm glad that the Diamond Sports are allowed to scrimmage in the fall. It makes it more fun, and you kind of get to see what you have, because coming off big years or big seasons like we had for both sports, you're curious. I mean, like, right, for baseball, we lost a lot of hitters, right? Well, this will be a good opportunity, and Coach Jags is going to reload with hitters. What we have in the fall, going into the winter break and springtime, because first pitch. We are almost in the month of November, but we're 3 months away from another fun season at the Teague and another fun season at Lamson Park.
Yeah,
and it shows up quick too.
Interestingly enough, Degs does a lot of recruiting. He's got 3 guys, one who lived in my neighborhood here in Texas, but he's got 3 guys in my general vicinity. There's a Lucas kid I met his dad at the Rice Series last year. This Lucas kid, he can hit the damn ball. and he committed to us, and he was out at homecoming this past weekend. So it's not going to be this year, but next year he's going to be in the mix. I'm telling you, I watched this kid's highlights on Twitter, and he's going to be a good one. So Deggs is definitely reloading and has some firepower coming in the next couple of years.
Good. It's exciting because he's brought an exciting brand of baseball. The team can hit. They're fun to watch. Watching their base running is very energetic. I mean, every coach that we have faced always compliments how we are offensively. So get a few pitchers in there, mix it in there. The team's going to be dangerous. Very dangerous.
And you know what else I'm noticing? He's got a lot of two-sport players that are committing on the baseball team. So that's interesting. I know Robe had a couple in his day, but there are a lot of two-sport players that are committing to baseball. So especially here in Texas. I mean, football is a big deal out here in Texas. So good to see some two-sport athletes commit to the Cajuns baseball team.
No doubt about it, man. And just for a little bit of clarity for the water ski tournament, it's a collegiate nationals. It'll be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Bennett's Water Ski School in Zachary, Louisiana. So if you're out in Zachary or in the Baton Rouge area, I don't know why you'd be out there, but anyway, in Baton Rouge. But anyway, I'm kidding. I know there's some Cajun fans. They do have Cajun fans that live out there. I know a few.
I lived there for 8 years. Let me tell you.
I'm so sorry. But if you're bored and you got nothing else to do, or you want to go see us win a natty, hey, go check out the water ski tournament, because we're going to be competing for some bragging rights there. So again, best of luck to the water ski team. I did also want to mention, I know I talked about women's basketball being preseason picked 6th in the conference. The men's basketball team looks like the guys are feeling a little bit of disrespect. They're picked 5th in the Sun Belt preseason. So Coach
Good.
Marlin, his team, the players have a lot that they're going to want to prove some people wrong. So should be a lot of fun for both teams on the court. And last but not least, before I forget, Nick, Cajuns, Jaguars, Saturday, 4 p.m. Give me your prediction, man. What do you think?
Oh man, I don't know. I hate doing these because I'm always wrong. I'm just gonna throw out some numbers because I don't even know if this makes sense or not. I'd have to. I mean, it may involve a safety or some crazy stuff. So again, it's just numbers I'm throwing out. Cajuns 35, South Alabama 33.
So a win. You predict a win.
Yes, I do predict a win. Well, my heart tells me we're gonna win. A close one and a shootout.
What does your head tell you?
I don't want to go there.
I had to say it, and I'm gonna give a prediction, but I'm gonna give a prediction part A and part B, and you're gonna understand why what I'm about to say. The last 2 weeks have shown me that even in spite of playing one half of football, that we're still in the game. And when you play two halves of football, I feel like our team is very dangerous. It could beat just about anybody. But unfortunately, these last 2 weeks we have not seen that. But I feel that this could be a weekend, even though South Alabama they're on fire right now, but I just don't see them. They're not going to score. I don't see them scoring 31 points on us in the first half. I think our defenses are a little bit better than ULM and Southern Miss. So I don't see that happening. And I also think our offense is more explosive than those other two teams. So I think we're going to score some points in the first half. I think if we are tied in the first half, leading or tied, or even trailing by like less than a touchdown, I think we win this game. That's just me. That's based on how we play in the second half, right? My prediction is this. If we play like we have the last 2 weeks and we don't show up in the first half, South Alabama comes out firing because we make mistakes and do stupid stuff. I see South Alabama. If we play one half of football, this is my part A. If we play only one half of football and don't show up in the first half, South Alabama is going to beat us 34-21. But if we play two halves of football and do those 3 keys to the game that I mentioned, score early, dominate the line of scrimmage, avoid giving up big plays, make them earn everything on us, I think the Cajuns come out victorious, 31-24. So one half of football, we only show up one half, 34-21, Cajuns loss. If we play a full game, I think the Cajuns win 31-24. We'll see what happens come 4 o'clock on Saturday, but to me, it's going to be a war. I think it's going to be a war.
Yeah, and I mean it always is, and whenever we play South Alabama, and it's always a war. So I think it'll be a fun game to watch. Hopefully, not too frustrating. And this time, look, last weekend, I will spill the beans. Part of the reason that we couldn't record was because I was in Austin for Formula One. It was kind of like one of those once in a lifetime deals where I got to attend. Yeah. So and it was qualifying, which was kind of cool. But no Formula One this weekend. I'll be here and we'll do a hopefully a happy post game.
Happy post game. Yeah, I got to tell you, man, whenever Zion threw the pick and, we were all distraught and the game was over and they kneel it. The first thing I said was, man, I got to go do a post game after this now. Like, what am I going to say? What am I going to say?
I mean, even Terry, he was like,
he didn't even come on.
No, he and Jimmy were like, nope, I'm good.
he didn't even come on. Neither did Jimmy. So next time they come on this weekend, if they do, they're not going to bail out 2 weeks in a row. You hear that, Jimmy? You hear that, Terry? No, you will not bail out on us 2 weeks in a row. We're going to find you. And by the way,
we need a drunk
hound you.
I don't know where Kyle's been, but we need Kyle on here. We need Kyle giving us his take because that's all, regardless if we win or lose, that's always entertaining. So Kyle, wake up, man.
Everybody, please chime in the post game. And yes, we will be here for a post game on Saturday night following the Cajuns Jaguars matchup. Should be a good game. Should be a lot of fun. For those of you going, safe travels. Have a good time. Bring us home a W. For those not going, there are many bars and restaurants you can go, or just look. This is gonna be nice weather this weekend. Fire up the grill, fire up the stove, do whatever, cook some good food, and turn that TV on your patio and watch the Cajuns battle it out. So, again, Louisiana Raging Cajuns take on the South Alabama Jaguars this weekend at Hancock Whitney Bank Stadium. Kickoff is at 4:00. You can watch the game on ESPN Plus, or you can listen to the game on Hot 107.9 or 103.3 The GOAT. And I think you can still listen to it on ESPN 1420 AM. I know it's a habit, Nick. I'm sorry. It's been so long. But so you have options to listen. You have options to watch. There should be no excuse to watch the Cajuns try to get that big W on the road. It'll be a big game and should be a lot of fun. So if you like what you heard, you can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, or listen to us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, as well as Twitch. And YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, or you can listen to us on Apple iTunes or Spotify. So please, all of those outlets, like, subscribe, talk about how great we are, spread the word. We're here for the fans. We're all about you guys, Cajun Nation. We want to thank you guys for those listening tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Again, we'll be back to talk about hopefully the Cajuns' big W on the road against South Alabama on Saturday. And Nick said he will be here. Terry, Jimmy, if you're listening, we expect you to call in. I know you were upset. We were all upset. We all got to face the music, right? But hopefully it's music like this that we're facing this Saturday after a W. So that's going to do it for tonight. For Nick, I'm Jerry. And as always, go Cajuns. And in the words of the late, great Big Dave Thibodeau, bye. We out of here. See you Saturday night.
Parce qu'il a pas sa bonne tête.